All right, everyone. Welcome to the DBA Fundamentals Virtual Chapter Meeting for October. Today's presentation is entitled 5 Shifts to Becoming a Rockstar Professional Without the Stress and Burnout Caused by Being in It. It will be presented by Edwin Sarmiento. And forgive me, Edwin, if I misspeak your last name 37 times throughout this entire thing. Sure I will. I'll be turning things over to Edwin here in just a minute, but let's get through a little bit of housekeeping. First, my name is Kevin Wilkie, and I'm standing in for Steve Cantrell, the chapter leader of the DBA Fundamentals virtual chapter. You can send us any questions you have by emailing us at dbafundamentals@pass.org. All right, and first we go to our slide of the day from Century One, who if you've not actually had a chance to play with any of their tools, they are truly wonderful. They give it lots of applications that will help everyone in all of their work. So especially Plan Explorer, I use it probably at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not more. I also go through their product videos and very educational videos at SQLcentury.tv. Help me a lot. And beyond that, also you can always go to the free query tuning advice at answers.sqlperformance.com. Also, we have our other sponsor, which is at DBWatch Database Control. I have yet to actually work on some of their stuff, but I know they are great because other people here have actually worked with it, and I've talked to them before as well. Here at DBA Fundamentals, our main, our co-leaders are actually Shane O'Neill, Steve Cantrell, myself, Kevin Wilkie there, and Glenda Gable. We've all been doing this for quite some time. We can help you any way you want. We all respond fairly quickly on Twitter, or you can actually just send this to our normal Twitter account for DBA Fundamentals. Or now you can actually go into the Slack channel if you would like at sqlcommunity.slack.com. Also, this last time we just had a $500 Visa card that was given out. It went to Dev here, and that went very well. Hopefully Dev is on this call. I haven't checked to see if he is, but hopefully he's enjoying the $500 Visa card. Upcoming SQL Saturdays. This actually lists a couple that I actually have just attended. I actually was at the Memphis and the Columbus, Georgia SQL Saturdays, and they went off great. I know if you're in the area of any SQL Saturdays, be it in the US, Canada, or abroad, I know you will enjoy any of those. I know I always have a great time either presenting or just sitting back learning and or networking with all the people there. I always enjoy it and have a great time every time I go anywhere for a SQL Saturday event. Upcoming virtual group webinars. Obviously, we have today the 5 shifts to becoming a Rockstar data professional without the stress and burnout caused by being in IT with Edwin. Next up, next month, is both the indexing from the ground up with Mark Wilkinson and introduction and use cases for working with Azure Databricks with Ginger Grant, which I am positively excited for both of those topics actually. We also have all of our virtual groups. You'll notice, I think there are some that are actually not on this page. There are so many that show up either in different languages or different topics that everyone would love to hear about. If you're not on many virtual chapters, virtual groups, please join as many as you can. They all have great topics each month. I try to go to as many as I can, and those I can't get to when they're actually doing it live, I actually try to go to afterwards. I enjoy a lot of them. I have a lot of friends who do it. With that, we go to Edwin. I show here his actual little biography. I'm sure he'll go into much more detail than this will show. And with that, you can get our session recording. This session will actually be recorded, and you can actually pick it up in 1 to 2, hopefully for sure within the week, but I will try to get it within the next 2 to 3 days. You can get it from our site, either fundamentalpsychopaths.org meeting archive or dbafund.org, or you can get it onto our YouTube channel at dbafundtube.org. And with that, I go to Edwin. Edwin, are you ready?
Thank you very much. I hope you guys can hear me well. And with that, I'm also going to share my screen, if I could share my screen.
There you go.
Perfect. Perfect. You should see my screen now. Welcome, everyone. And thanks for joining us today. I'm really glad and really excited about this because the last time I did a presentation for the DBA virtual chapter was, I think, about 2 years ago, probably last year. I just can't remember. It's been a while. And usually I look at the number of people registered and attended. Right now we got 105 people in this. How cool is that? To measure how popular a topic is. So typically when you're looking at a session where you're trying to work on the most common issues like outages, indexing, you see the number of people. And when I started talking to Steve about this a couple of months ago, we started talking and said, I usually do my presentations for the HADR virtual chapter or anything HADR because that's my key area of expertise. But in these cases, I feel like this is something that IT professionals need. I mean, I know for a fact I needed this 10, 15 years ago, and I wish I've learned this earlier. But again, it's something that I think is very, very relevant. And I see some familiar names in the attendance. Welcome everyone. And again, I'll try to make it as entertaining, engaging as I possibly can. These are what I call the 5 shifts to becoming a rockstar data professional, and with a subtitle there, without the stress and burnout caused by IT. Like, wow, that's heavy. And this is something that I promise. Within the next 15 minutes, I try to squeeze a lot of these really valuable content within the next 15 minutes. Try not to go beyond that. Within the next 15 minutes, here's what I'm going to promise you. I'm going to show you how to become a rockstar data professional, even if you don't consider yourself as a senior or expert level IT professional. Now, I don't know who in the crowd or who among the attendees are in like the beginning of their careers, the middle of their careers, or who would consider themselves as an expert in their field. If you are, why don't we do this? If you're just starting out in your career, you could say, "Hey, that's me. Don't worry, we're not gonna make fun of you." But if you're like right in the middle, like you've been in the IT industry for like 5 years, you could say, I've been here for a while. You could type in a chat window if you would like to. I'm also going to show you how to reduce, if not eliminate, stress and burnout. Sometimes I just sigh, just realizing the fact that we live and we're in an industry where hard work, well, long hours of work, is a norm. You sign up for a career or a profession where you accept the fact that this is normal for us. Okay. I'm also going to show you how to become an expert in your chosen field. Whether you're a data professional that's specializing on DBA tasks, you're a developer or a BI or data analyst or AI or an ML expert or a practitioner. Again, why do we do this? Why don't you just type in the chat window whether you're a DBA? You could type I'm a DBA, or I'm a developer, database developer, or I'm a BI or an analytics expert. You could type in the chat window. Again, just to uh, uh, share with people in the community or in people who are in attendance, like, what do you do for a living? I mean, this is for a data professional, and the data professional career or track has grown over the past 20, 25 years, where back then when you're working with SQL Server, it's just one thing, right? You're the developer and you're the DBA, you know everything and anything and everything about SQL Server. Not anymore. It has grown to a point where it has uh, grown extensively. The product has grown extensively, and the careers that have grown out of that has also increased. And now you have machine learning, AI, BI, analytics, name it. It's all there. Uh, and how you could find fulfillment and satisfaction. This is huge because when you think about it, you come to work, you go to work, and you feel like I feel like it's just a routine, something that I've been doing every day. I don't know. I don't feel like coming to work today because I don't know. I just don't feel like it. Now, here's my promise. Okay, here's my promise. And by the way, I'm also looking at some of the comments and attacks in the chat window. Fairly new to DBA responsibilities without the DBA title, Joseph saying, and so on. Oracle, Postgres, DB. Oh, the Oracle guy. Welcome to the SQL Server community. And here's my promise to you. I'm going to show you a step-by-step strategy for becoming a rockstar data professional. And I don't just mean, become really, really, really good at what you do, because it encompasses more than just what you do. And so before I go into, what those strategies are and what those 5 shifts are, I want to ask you this. I just want to check in with you because I don't want to feel like I'm the only one who has felt this before. But does this sound like you? Just again, quick check-in. Does this sound like you? Do you struggle with stress and burnout due to long working hours or working long hours on weekends, handling on-call duties? I know for a fact I did. When I was working as a full-time DBA, I know for a fact that, it's not 40-hour weeks, it's 60-hour weeks. Plus the fact that I would have to be assigned for the weekend on call, and I have to cover the 24-hour window, not the 12-hour my time zone window, but 24 hours, because we got customers all over the globe, and I have to be responsible for that. Do you feel stuck in your job thinking that you can achieve more than just handling tickets and responding to incidents? I mean, think about it. You probably know how to do a shift and delete for all of those email alerts that come from your monitoring tool, just because of the fact that I know exactly what this is doing. But is there something more? Is there something else that I could achieve? Or do you struggle to find time? And this is huge for IT professionals. IT is constantly changing. What you know last year might no longer be relevant this year. Or and here's the thing though, we so embrace some of those technologies and learnings that we've recognized 5-10 years ago, and we're not open to learning new things, like what is up and coming. Not only that, but 40, 60-hour weeks, I don't have time to learn anything new. So am I going to be learning something new, or am I going to focus on just doing the work that I need to do every single day? Do you feel like you're wasting your whole life in a job and not have a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction? And again, if this sounds like you, I wanted you to type in the chat window, yes, I totally feel that. Like I said, it's my way of checking in whether or not it's just me, because I've felt this before. I felt like, and Dave's saying spot on. Melanie was saying, yes, long hours, tight deadlines, not so much weekends. I remember, and again, one of the reasons I started doing this, my very first Pass Summit presentation back in 2007, has nothing to do with IT, has nothing to do with SQL Server. It has everything to do with this, because I felt like we're struggling. as an industry, and I'm not just talking about the SQL Server community, as an industry, we are struggling with this, and it really hit me hard in 2016 when I did my presentation on how to become a CEO, or your path towards a more management role, where I shared a story of a few of my friends. One of which was the assistant of my former MVP lead who died of a heart attack, and he's 33. And then another guy who used to work for Microsoft as a technical specialist, I didn't realize also died of a heart attack. And it's real, and it's hitting us. And that's why I made that decision and made that commitment to myself. I'm going to do this regardless of me doing HA and DR and all those deep technical stuff. I'm still going to do this, right? But here's the thing, though. What I've shown you, what I've described, it's really not the big problem. It's not the real problem. In most cases, we felt like, oh, I'm just so bombarded with work. You feel like being overworked is a real problem. No, it's not. You feel like, oh, I don't have time to learn new things. That's really not the real issue. The real problem, well, actually, those are just symptoms of the bigger problem. The real problem is that you haven't made these, what I call, 5 shifts. Okay? Which is interesting because, again, it's not what we think they are. And once you make these 5 shifts, here's the thing: you will have taken complete control over your life in your career. And why do I say this? I've experienced it myself. I've gone through the whole stage of being an on-call DBA, being a technician, an operations DBA, where I get called in at 3 o'clock. I don't know what it is about being called in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why issues happen at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm sound asleep. Being on call on Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, while everyone is having, really nice family dinner, I'm here trying to address a problem because I got paged. And once you make these shifts, you'll have taken complete control over your life and your career. You'll have reduced the amount of stress that you experience. Not eliminate stress is, well, some stress is helpful. And we're not trying to eliminate that. We're trying to reduce it so that it does not affect your life, your career, and your family, or whatever is important to you. You'll have created opportunities to advance your career, to move forward in your career, and you will feel satisfaction and fulfillment from the work that you do. And like I said, this is huge because you certainly don't want to be going to work every Monday or every day feeling like, what's going to happen next. It's different, right? And here's the thing, though, and I know I haven't really introduced myself formally. My name is Edwin. I was a 12-year Microsoft MVP. My also Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Certified Master for SQL Server, and my key area of expertise is high availability and disaster recovery. Now you might be thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? He's an HA and DR expert. Why is he talking about all of these things? And this is something that I've learned throughout my career. In fact, I've used these 5 shifts in my consulting practice because I didn't realize it's that huge. It makes a whole lot of difference. And I'm going to share with you how I've discovered those. But like I said, whenever I get called in to, called in as a consultant to design an availability group solution or an HADR solution, or maybe just to troubleshoot an outage, in most cases, a typical IT professional response is, let's fix this. Let's fix this. Without realizing there's really a more deeper, yeah, I know that's redundant. There's even more deep cause or deep source of the problem. And I've been working with a lot of customers. In fact, I had a customer in Vermont, or a SaaS company that's providing um, HRIS system for companies to a point where they've started rolling out payroll solutions. They wanted me to well, not come on site. They wanted me to reevaluate their existing always on availability group solution. And I felt like just by hearing the director of IT speak on the phone, I felt like there is something about this guy and there's something about their team that needs to be addressed immediately. And I said, I want to visit your team. I want to go on and go on site, see your team, talk to your team. Said, no, we can't afford you. And said, I won't charge you for travel and accommodation. I just want to be there. I want just want to see what your team is at. So they brought me in. They wanted to reevaluate their always on availability group solution, but right there and then I sensed that there is something wrong with the team. No communication, there's no proper process in place. What's really interesting is they hired me to be an HADR expert to address their availability group solution, but they got a lot more value out of it because I started applying these 5 shifts into their team. And I hope you're ready. If you're taking down notes, make sure that you are taking notes because I'm going to start sharing with you what those 5 shifts are. What are those? The first one is think like a winner. And I know you might be thinking, oh, that's not what I need. But hear me out real quick. How many of you, when you come to work on a Monday morning, are so discouraged, like, I need to work on that issue again. Oh, I need to talk to that customer again. How many of you feel like that every Monday morning or even every morning? Again, just type in the chat window. How many of you are excited to go to work every day just because you know you're making a difference? And this is a big thing. In fact, this is a huge thing for me. Winners find ways to get things done. Of course, losers find excuses to why something can't be done. I remember, again, working with another customer where they were looking at migrating to, from a SQL Server 2008 to SQL Server 2017, just very recently. And they were thinking, these are all the different things that we could approach this project with, but they're all fixated on problems. And I said, okay, let's take a step back for a minute. How would you envision this project being completed within the next 60 or 90 days? And all of a sudden, just a simple question like that, they started thinking about all the possibilities, all of the different solutions that they could think of, just so they could go through the whole migration project. Which is interesting because initially they were thinking, oh, we can't do this, we have a tight budget, we have a tight deadline. And just by listening to people's description of why it's not possible, it changes the whole atmosphere in the room. And like I said, winners find a way to get things done. Losers find an excuse why something can't be done. And this is a game changer for me, literally a game changer for me, which is why I started helping my customers through this. Go through your day with a winner's mindset. What I mean by this is when you wake up in the morning, how do you envision your day? Do you envision your day in a way where, oh, we're going to rock this, we're going to solve this problem? Because sometimes it becomes so frustrating, it becomes so mundane. I remember working on a case with Microsoft where it's taking weeks to even find a resolution. And when you go through that, go through the notion of working on a specific problem, you feel like, it's this again. I don't think we can find a resolution. You attract all the negative energy. And I know some of you might be thinking, oh, it's just all no. It is, like I said, a game changer for me. Just changing the environment in a room by introducing how people would think about their day changes everything, right? Focus on solutions, not problems. We have one problem, we have multiple problems, but sometimes we're so fixated on the problems that our brain could not think of ways on how to find solutions. Focus on solutions, not problems. We already know we have problems. But what if we could spend more time thinking of creative solutions in order to solve that problem? Set your own standards for being a winner. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're an athlete, well, you could always look at the examples of people who are professional athletes, NBA, NFL, NHL, name it. They have a routine. How do they start their day? Do they practice? Do they exercise? What's really interesting is the fact that we spend 60-hour work weeks doing work when we think we'll be more productive when we put more hours in our work. I disagree. I remember the time when I was troubleshooting a cluster issue, and this was about 7 years ago. I was spending, and I've been spending like 18 hours trying to resolve a cluster issue. And I remember vividly because I wanted to escalate it to my manager because I haven't had enough sleep yet. But my manager said, just take a step back, relax. And here's what I did. I said, okay, you hold the on call. I'll take a 4 hour nap. I said 4 hours just because, I might oversleep. 4 hour nap, I said, just to set the expectations right. And when I woke up, I don't know what happened. Immediately, within the next 30 minutes, I managed to fix the problem. It's like a switch in my brain just went on that I haven't really thought of. That is my own standard. So now, I mean, every day, I make sure that I get enough sleep, enough rest, that I don't spend too much time on a specific task if I know I'm not going to be productive. It's counterintuitive because, again, in most cases, we feel like we need to spend more time on this, we need to spend more hours on this, again, which is counterintuitive, which is also counterintuitive because I've learned this when I was working in Singapore, a high stress country, high fast paced, high stress, working for a Japanese company, again, high stress, high demand. And before I go into a project, before we even start a project, our office is in the central business district. It's right across the Singapore River. I would spend 2 hours doing nothing, sitting there, doing nothing, watching people walk by, and just freeing my mind. And then after I come back to my desk in 45 minutes to an hour, I will draft the plan of action that I need and then submit it to the project manager. And we get things done quickly. Not because I spend more time on the job, or not because I spend more time doing the work, but because I allowed my brain, my body to rest. So what's your standard for being a winner? Is it spending more time because that's what you've been taught ever since? Or is it creating habits that would enable you to become a winner? Have a winner's lifestyle. I make it a point that I eat well, I sleep well, I exercise, not because, well, it's easy. Nobody likes exercising. But here's the thing, though: winners, again, professional athletes, when they go out on the field, when they start playing the sport, for a fact they spent a lot of time taking care of themselves. Good enough sleep, good enough rest, proper exercise. I mean, come to think of it, uh, many people, especially in our industry, Friday nights are common. Let's go out drinking. I've got nothing against drinking, but when you think about it, if you believe you are a winner, you're not going to spend your Friday nights drinking just because you want to have fun. There's a lot of different ways for you to have fun and still take good care of your health, and find a reason why you do what you do. Winners have one goal. It is to win. You come into work every day, Monday morning, it's Monday again. And then you're excited that it's Fridays, you can get away from work. If you find a reason why you do what you do, work is never going to be dreadful. I remember the time when I was working on, and I don't tell people this because nobody's proud of working with SharePoint, but I was the main engineer for a global SharePoint farm upgrade project. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. And being the main contact person for everything is tiring, is stressful. I need to be like 25 steps ahead of everybody to be thinking about it. But then, and at one point, as we were cutting over, I was sick for like 2 days, but I still needed to be on a conference call. I still needed to work on this, and I felt like giving up. Anybody in my situation would feel like giving up. To make matters worse, before the cutover, I had to fly down to San Diego, do another project, and I'm still, struggling with a mild fever, and I have to come back home to do the project for the SharePoint project. What got me through it is redefining why I was doing what I was doing. The SharePoint Farm was a platform for this company. They're a global financial company that people use to send money to their families. And realizing, hey, I'm originally from the Philippines. I totally get what this means. It means that people who are working overseas, sending money back to their families, give their families an opportunity to experience a better quality of life. So this is not just a SharePoint project for me. This is families' quality of life because people working overseas are now able to send money to their family back home. Finding a reason why you do what you do can find meaning and fulfillment to what you're doing. And not just go through the notions, yeah, it's just another Monday. Oh, it's just another Tuesday. No. In fact, um, every time I go to a customer site for consulting projects, I tell them the reason why I'm there. And the reason why I'm there is because I want them to focus on the things that they're really good at. If they're a software company that's providing software as a service for uh, you know healthcare providers, I tell them, you go focus on that. I'll take care of the things that matter to you, so you don't have to focus on it. Stick to the reason why you do what you do. And again, that's just the first one. I haven't even covered a lot. Again, that's just the first one. The next one is something that I've learned about 25 years ago, and it's not something that I've learned in IT. Being Asian, and I started to realize a lot of Canadians as well, would have this way of thinking: be a jack of all trades. And I know what you're thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. I'm not done yet. Be a jack of all trades, but a master of one. I've learned this as a musician 25 years ago when my band leader said, well, yeah, you need, you know, when you want to play, you need to learn how to play the guitar, the keyboard, the drums, the bass, because what if somebody's not available? But he said you have to be the expert for one main instrument. What's interesting is I took that lesson with me for the past 25 years, and I realized it is something that has helped me throughout my career. In fact, here's the thing, and I'm just going to throw it out there. About 80% of the people in this webinar strongly believe in two things. And what are these two things? Number one, you have to be an expert at one thing and one thing alone. These are people who are really, really, really good at what they do, but they don't know anything else. Or, some of you might think you need to know a little of everything. You got to be good at networking, you got to be good at development, you got to be good at DBA stuff, you got to be good at Azure machine learning. This is what a lot of people believe in. But here's the reality. In 2008, nobody would ever forget what happened in 2008. The economic climate has forced people like us to become more of a generalist. In fact, there's a fear that I could talk to you about people who decided, this is not working for me. I'll find a different career. I'll switch from being a DBA to doing this because, hey, I'm afraid that I might lose my job. And people would feel, hey, I'm not really doing so much. I need to learn so many. The fact of the matter is, it is stressing them out because they always have this fear, constantly talking behind their back. I don't know well enough. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know DevOps. I don't know AI. It's not helping. But here's the thing, though. As a generalist, you try to learn little about everything because they want to feel indispensable to the team or in the team. It doesn't give you that opportunity to become the subject matter experts. On the other hand, specialists master only one thing. They don't try to learn what other team members do, and they end up alienating themselves and others to a point where I can't really rely on them for anything about the specific subject matter, right? But here's the thing, though, and this is something that I've learned. IT is growing fast. Innovations, technology, tools, versions of SQL Server, new technologies, new platforms are being introduced. You feel like you don't have enough time, but this is something that I've learned throughout my career. You master principles, not tools. Tools become obsolete and principles last a lifetime. In fact, one of the reasons I like high availability and disaster recovery is because of the fact that I don't focus on the technology, I focus on the people and the process. And I constantly learn something about the people and the process aspect of high availability and disaster recovery. Tools become obsolete. Principles last a lifetime. In fact, the principles, once you've mastered these principles, you become indispensable because you can translate those principles into different industries. Whether you still like working with IT or you want to move to a different vertical, the principles apply. Give you an example, teamwork is a very, very critical example or principle when it comes to high availability and disaster recovery. You're managing this mission critical database, but without realizing, oh, I need to talk to the network guys. Oh, I need to talk to the system guys. I need to talk to the storage guys. Master principles, not tools. And once you learn these principles, it's easy to build whatever you've learned from previous versions of SQL Server to newer versions. In fact, here's what I've realized. Some of the features that Microsoft is introducing in the newer versions of SQL Server were features that were built from previous versions. Like I always tell people, look, readable secondaries and availability groups, that's basically, database snapshots in action. And that's been there since SQL Server 2005, right? Mastering principles, it will help you transcend the innovations and all of the different changes that are happening in the industry. So be a jack of all trades, but the master of one. And here's what I do to keep up. I look at the trends. What are the different trends nowadays? Like DevOps is a huge thing. AI, machine learning, big data, analytics. These are all new trends. Do I spend time diving deep? No, I don't. I look at it from a higher level and see how that would impact what I do. But I still constantly learn more about high availability and disaster recovery. And again, not just the technology aspect, but the people and the process aspect of it. Because the technology, we do this every day. It's easy to pick up, but the people and process aspect of it is something that I have not, I need to constantly evolve and need to constantly learn. The third one, I did promise 5. The third one, and I hope you're learning something from this. I hope you're getting something from this. The third one is what I call TEDS. It's actually my secret weapon. Tech Experts Digital Sandbox. It's a cool name for a lab environment. How many of you here have a personal lab environment at home? How many of you here have a personal lab environment, whether it's at home, in the office, on the cloud? Because it's something, and Garland was saying, I do. Here's the thing though. A lab environment or a sandbox is what got me my very first enterprise DBA job. I remember this, and I was well, typically what interviewers or managers would ask you during interviews, have you had this experience, right? And most people would say, oh, I don't have production experience, but any experience is experience. And this is what really got me my very first enterprise DBA job for a global company. And he was asking, do you have the production experience? I said, no, I don't, but here's what I can guarantee you. I know more about SQL Server than most of the members of your team. Why do I say that? I spent years setting it up, practicing, integrating it with Active Directory, working with the different components that impact SQL Server. How many of the members of your team actually know that? I got hired right on the spot. This is, again, kind of like my secret weapon. It's a powerful and safe environment to build confidence. The only thing that I tell people about a lab environment is confidence. You're learning new technologies, you're testing a design or a process before implementing it in a live production environment. And I don't know about you, but this is what I've been seeing. The old way is this. You implement directly in a production environment. People say, oh, we have a QA environment and it's in our production, right? That's the old way. You create a modified process without testing and hope it works. This is what I call the cross your fingers engineering. But I don't know about you, I did not learn this in engineering school. I've never learned cross your fingers engineering in engineering school or even computer science, for those of you who have taken computer science. But we do this every day. I don't know why. There's a big disconnect between what we've learned and what we're doing. And in today's world with cheap hardware, virtualization, the cloud, there is no excuse for you to not have a personal lab environment. Okay, the new way, and this is the new way, you design, you deploy to your lab environment, you automate, you deploy to live production environment. In fact, I've got, well, in the past, it's just my work laptop. I just put in more RAM so that I could test it out, run virtualization, whether it's VMware, Hyper-V, VirtualBox, whatever works, and then try it out. Now I had the luxury of running an HP DL380. I think it's a G7 that I've been working on, and I'm actually building a Kubernetes cluster to test out the SQL Server 2019 deployment of availability groups. But the point is, the key thing about lab environments is it helps you build more confidence in doing this, right? Again, there is no excuse today for you not to have a live or a lab environment. You want to try out Azure, you sign up for a 30-day Azure subscription. You want to test out EC2, you go ahead and sign up for a free account, GCP, whatever. There really is no excuse for you not to do this. Okay? Number four, and I'm constantly looking at some of the messages on the chat and Q&A. Ted says, Rado was saying, Ted is aching to POCs I do in my dev or QA. Nice to see it confirmed here. And like I said, it builds confidence. Why? Because you know it's going to work because you've tested it. Now, for some of you with very large environments, it may not necessarily look exactly as your production environment, but at least you have something that you've tested. That's the key thing here. Okay. Number four is leverage EQ over IQ. So the first one is have a winner's mindset, or think like a winner, be a jack of all trades, a master of one. Not a master of none, but a master of one. TEDS, build your sandbox, build your lab environment, build your POC environment. Number four, EQ over IQ. You value emotional quotient, or EQ, over intelligence quotient. I don't know what the right term is, but here's the thing though. I want you to take a step back. Evaluate how much time do you spend reading technical blogs, documentation, manual. Of course, I do hope that you do read the manual, versus learning stuff that has nothing to do with technology. Again, spend 30 seconds just reevaluating how much time you've learned or you spend learning about SQL Server, AI, ML, Power BI, development, DevOps, Kubernetes, Docker, anything you can think of, versus learning skills that have nothing to do with technology. Okay, and most of the Rockstar data professionals, you can ask them this personally. I've asked a lot of them in the community. In fact, I use Paul Randall as an example when he used to. Well, we all know Mr. Paul Randall as Mr. DBCC, but check this out. When he worked for Microsoft, he managed a team. Yes, sure, he knows how to crack open a data page. Yes, he knows how to write, C++ code, hardcore geek, but he knows how to deal with people. He managed people. He knows how to motivate people. These are non-technical skills that they're building alongside their technical skills. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've worked with really, 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 really smart engineers who don't really care about anything. You can't even talk to them. because they feel like they're in their own bubble. They feel like they're the smartest person in the room. They don't really care about anybody else. I rarely talk to them. And the reality is, we spend so much time building our technical skills, we forget, oh, there's a corresponding non-technical skill that I need to build on top of this, right? The reality is, these non-technical skills are transferable regardless of job description and industry. Team management, leadership skills, influence, communication skills, um, sales and marketing. Well, you might be thinking, why do I need sales and marketing? You're supposed to be selling the value of what you do to your manager. If your manager does not value, does not see the value of what you do, it doesn't matter how good you are. In fact, this is actually the very first presentation that I did back in 2007 for the PASS Summit, Emotional Intelligence for IT Professionals, where we don't neglect our technical skills, but rather work with our technical skills alongside with also building non-technical skills. In fact, for the past 3 years, when I started my own consulting practice, I spent more time building my non-technical skills, business development, marketing, sales. Why? Because this is the only way that I can, you know, reach out to more people. The only way I could reach more people is if they know about me, and the only way for me to help them is for them to know who I am. I mean, think about it. The most influential people in the SQL Server community or in the data platform community are the ones who are really good at what they do. Plus, they know how to communicate it to the community. And again, when you think about it, you know, the IT industry is never going to go away. Computers are never going to go away. Technology is going to be there. But if you really want to move above and beyond what your career is and what you're doing right now, not just responding to tickets, but leading a team or even influencing a team or making an impact, you need to build your non-technical skills. And again, drawing back to to some of my experiences working with customers, every time I get brought into, especially with troubleshooting issues, where we're in the same room trying to figure out what's wrong, there's always this finger pointing. Customers will blame other vendors, and other vendors will start blaming other vendors. I could just say, I don't really care about this, but I would always step in, and I always stand in the middle and tell them, look, let's get back to the real reason why we're here. Stop finger pointing. We need to get this thing done. We need to get this thing resolved. We need to get databases back online. Let's worry about finger pointing right now. Let's focus on solving the problem. And that's just part of communication, just developing your leadership skills so that people start listening to you. That's the real value of emotional intelligence or non-technical skills. So you better start looking at learning leadership skills, learning communication skills, influence, because you need to influence people who will be working with you, whether they're your vendors, whether they're your peers, or whether he's your manager or she's your manager. You need to influence them. And let me emphasize this: what you do matters. But if nobody knows, it's useless, right? You could be the smartest person. You could be responsible for making sure that everything works perfectly fine. But if you're not communicating that value, nobody would care. And my goal is to help you communicate your value to the business stakeholders, to your managers, so that they would know how to value what you do. And the fifth one, which is kind of huge, is invest in mentoring. For one, I think it's just because of the fact we were trained with this kind of way of thinking. I'll do it myself. There's this ego thing. I'm not going to ask for help. I'm going to do it myself. In fact, I struggled for so long, and I think it's because of the fact that, especially males, no, the men, we've been taught asking for help is a sign of weakness. I totally disagree until I realized, no, it isn't. Invest in mentoring. Find somebody who has already done what you've done. Reach out to them, ask for help, ask for their opinion, and let them guide you through the process. Why would you spend 40 hours trying to resolve a problem when somebody else has already figured it out and is willing to help you solve that problem quicker and faster? Wouldn't that be a good use of your time if you let somebody who's already done it before help and guide you with this? Because learning is not enough, and this is something that I really, really am uh, uh, particular about. You know how Google and the internet has created a generation of smart people. You can't fool around with anybody and everybody now because anyone who has a phone can always ask Google, no, that's incorrect. Wikipedia says it's not correct. You know how you would have this typical conversation with somebody and you throw in a fact and they say, no, that's incorrect. And they'll take out their phone, search Google. This is exactly what it is. Here's the thing, learning is not enough. And this is something that I keep telling people. In fact, I teach my kids. It doesn't matter how smart you are or if you know everything about anything, if you're not taking action on what you've learned, it's useless. In fact, the one thing I add is if it's not helping somebody, it's totally useless. People who make an impact in the world are people who don't really know too much, but they've taken action on what they already know. And a way to guarantee taking action is by having accountability. How many of you have signed up for an online course, whether it's Udemy or Pluralsight or any of those learning online course learning portals, and you bought the course, but you haven't looked at it in years? I have a few online courses, both on my learning portal and on Udemy. It's interesting how people would sign up, and for 2 3 years, they don't even look at it because there is no accountability, right? Having a mentor or having a coach or having somebody who would guide you through the process is just an accountability process. Now, here's how it works. First is mindset, your belief about what is possible and the quality of your ideas. Somebody who's been there has seen a different perspective, has experienced something different from your own experience. In fact, here's the thing. How many of you who signed up for this webinar expected to hear, oh, one of the 5 shifts, I need to think like a winner? No, we're all looking for, so what's the next thing? What's the next thing? But nobody has ever think about investing in their mindset or changing their way of thinking. Because here's what I believe in. What you think you are, you become. Who you think you are, you become. In fact, my biggest value, the biggest value that I provide my customers is me being an external CIO. They would hire me to be their consultant, build this AG, build this HADR solution. And whenever I come in, I don't ask HADR, SQL Server specific technical questions. I ask questions that a CIO would ask. And that's the biggest value that I give them, because now we're not just solving a business problem using technology. We're looking at where the company's going, what their goals are, and how I can help them get there. It's no longer a SQL Server conversation. It's about how can we help your business, or how can I help your business or your organization go from point A to point B, and while you're at it, let's use SQL Server. A different way of thinking. And based on the quality of your ideas, or the ideas that you get from somebody who has been there or a mentor, is the actions, what you actually do. Like I said, more information means nothing if you're not going to do anything about it. What's your action items? In fact, at the end of every consulting engagement that I do, I come up with action items, and I make my customers think of action items because there is accountability. Oh, you thought about it? You go run with it. You're now responsible for it. What you actually do. And finally, your outcomes. What are your outcomes? What results do you want out of this? And so to change your outcome, you need to first start changing your mindset, or your way of thinking, or your belief, and your actions. In fact, your actions are influenced by your mindset or your way of thinking. And that's how you change your outcome. In fact, like I said, I consider myself not as a technical expert when a customer hires me as a consultant. I consider myself as a CIO. And as a CIO, what are the habits of a CIO? How does he think? How does he respond? How does he plan things out? Does he take care of himself? How does he? That's how I think about myself whenever I get called in for projects and consulting engagements. And that's because, again, that is how I see myself. That's my mindset. And in fact, this past year alone, 2018, I spent around $25,000 on mentoring and coaching alone. Because back in the days, I thought, yeah, I could do this on my own without realizing I'm spinning my wheels, not going anywhere. And I said, why don't I just invest on this and see where it leads me? I have to practice my own advice, and so I hired a coach to help me. And it's been tremendous because I've grown a lot, not just professionally, personally, but also in my business. Because the only way to grow my business is to grow myself. You need a new mindset, a new plan of action, and accountability. Like I said, how many of you have, said, oh, this is my goal for next year, and then all of a sudden you don't follow through? Having a coach, having a mentor, or having someone to guide you gives you that accountability. Bottom line, you need a mentor. Okay. Now, today I promised you how to become a rockstar data professional. I've shown you the 5 shifts. I've shown you how to reduce, if not eliminate, stress and burnout. How do you do that? Well, you start thinking like a winner. Oh, now I could streamline my processes so that I don't have to do it again. Maybe write some scripts in order for me to streamline my process. That way I don't have to do these over and over and over again, reducing the amount of time that I need to do this, which means I have more time for myself, for my family, and the things that matter to me, right? How to become an expert. Spin up your own lab environment. You practice, you practice, you practice until eventually you become master of that specific technology you want to become an expert on. How to find fulfillment and satisfaction. Find the reason why you do what you do. These 5 shifts are what you need to become a rockstar data professional. Okay? Think like a winner. Become a jack of all trades as the master of one. Be sure you are known for one thing and you're the subject matter expert for that one thing. Have a digital sandbox, or what I call the TEDs, POC environment, lab environment. Value EQ, leverage EQ over IQ. And finally, invest in mentoring. So now you have a choice. You either stay on, being, demotivated, tired, and just frustrated about your work, or you could take over your life, your career, and become, the person you want to be on your own terms with your own definition of what success looks like. Okay? How can I help? Reach out. Okay, like I said, I've always wanted to do this. Every time I speak at the past summit, it's always about professional development, not HA nor DR, because this is something that I believe is really, really, really valuable. I've seen my customers embrace a lot of these concepts. I've helped them through the process. I've applied these concepts myself personally, and it has provided me with a lot of opportunity for my career. There's my email. There's my blog. Reach out to me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, use the chat window or the questions and answer Q&A area on GoToMeeting. And with that, I will leave my contact information. Ask questions. If you have anything else going on, fire your questions away.
Thank you so much, Edwin. It was a really great presentation. I've been looking forward to it for a while, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. So it was great. We do have several questions that came up, or at least comments as you were going through. So if you are wanting any kind of if you had a question that wasn't answered or anything like that, please let me know in the question section if we can pass your email address back to Edwin. I'm not able to unless you guys give permission. So please just in the question section, go ahead and let you know what's your personal email, and you give me the rights to do so.
And Lori was asking
yes.
Mr. Ted's info acronym. TED stands for Technical Experts Digital Sandbox. It's kind of like a cool name for a lab environment.
Awesome. And then Dawn asks, where do you look for a mentor?
Great question. We typically look for mentors who are experts in their field. Like if I'm an HADR expert, I want to look for, experts in the community who are also HADR experts. That's a common mistake. Why? Because number one, experts do not necessarily mean they're a coach. And what a coach does and what a mentor does is guide you through the process. Sometimes an expert is just so, and again, has nothing to do with me not believing an expert. I'm a technical expert, but here's the thing: sometimes experts are so smart. I'm more of an outlier. I'm not that smart, but most experts are so smart that they think quickly that it's kind of hard to process how people who are not at their level would reach out to them. Sometimes they're trying to explain this is A, B, and C. You're like, oh, so what's A? And you want somebody who would run beside you and take you to a place where you want to go, not somebody who would say, oh, I'm smarter than you. This is how I do things, go figure, right? A guide is not necessarily an expert. I use the example of people climbing, mountains. They want a mountain guide, not an expert mountain climber, because a guide knows how to go through, the challenges of climbing up the mountain, versus an expert would probably be there faster than anybody else and left everyone behind.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation here. Again, if you have more other questions, please type them in and indicate yes, it's okay to pass your email information on. Make sure you check us out at dbafund.org. Under the About Us, it has all of our contact information, as well as the homepage, all of our upcoming meetings and such. If you have not registered for PASS, but you're going to, and you're interested in the discount code, reach out to us. Again, the About Us page on dbafund.org. We do have recordings, and this will also be recorded, so our YouTube information is also up there. You'll be able to see it on that. And lastly, thank you again, Edwin, and everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.